Hey everyone, Eric with the Office of Stewardship. On our Lunch and Learn here this month in July, we have Cody Ward, who is from Flocknote. He is their happiness engineer, which is the greatest job title in the world. And he is going to share with us all the good things about Flocknote. Without any further ado, Cody, please tell us what you know and how your service can benefit the folks here in the Diocese of Dodge City.
Well, thank you so much, Eric. Like you said, my name is Cody. I've been with Flocknote for about 2.5 years, and I am a happiness engineer. I engineer happiness for parishes all across the country, day in and day out, and it's what I love to do. And in particular, I work with a lot of our diocesan partners who we partner with for them, the chancery, and many of their parishes. Today, we're going to be talking about texting and email tools for stronger parish communications. We're going to be talking about some to-dos and to-don'ts when it comes to communication and how to just put together more effective communication. We'll talk about managing your contact lists and your data, and then we'll also talk about some of the unique features of Flocknote in particular that are going to help you with this effective communication. So let me go ahead and share my screen and we will kick things off. All right, just to be sure, can I get a thumbs up? You should see a slideshow there in full screen. All right, perfect. Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Like I said, today we're going to be covering how to communicate effectively with your parish, the mindset behind good communication, the tools to keep data organized, and the features that Flocknote make that are uniquely powerful for churches. Okay, so in doing this, we're going to first talk about best practices on communication, managing your contact lists and data for optimal communication and engagement. And then we'll do a deep dive into some of those features that make that communication more effective. At the end, if we have any questions, please just let me know. And then if we do have time and you have specific questions about how things work, I'm more than happy to dive into Flocknote to look at some of these in real time. All right. So the first question uh, before we jump into best practices, it's important to ask about the stakes, right? What's at risk? Poor communication doesn't just mean you missed an email and you didn't know about the potluck or something. In reality, what it can actually mean is you miss out on volunteers, you miss out on giving opportunities, and ultimately you miss opportunities to build the community and to grow the kingdom of God here on earth, which ultimately, no matter what you're using Flocknote for, whether you're just using it for communication, you're using it for online giving, you're using it as your member database, ultimately that's the whole point. Our goal here at Flocknote, our mission here at Flocknote actually, is to build a more connected church. So let's jump into those best practices. We'll go over a few. We have six. First is going to be your relationship. Next is your message worth their time? Next, we'll talk about segmenting the audience, how to be a person, right? And the importance of being a person. It's not all about you, and then put something at stake. So number one, your relationship. So do they know you? Do they trust you? And how good is your relationship with that person? Communication really does start with trust. Before you send anything, you should really ask yourself whether this person actually knows you and trusts you. And that relationship is what makes them open to your message in the first place. Now, we're going to continue to build on this idea as we go through, but it's always something that you need to keep in mind. Next, is your message worth their time? So obviously, we've thought about the relationship, right? What has your relationship been with this person? or this group of people up until now. But then is your message short and to the point? If it's long, if it's packed, is it only the most important information, or is there a lot of fluff in there? Every message that you send is kind of a withdrawal from the trust account, if you will, that you've built up with these people. So keeping messages short, relevant, and focused on what matters so that people learn that opening your emails is always going to be worth their time. If you're constantly sending out messages that are maybe not relevant or is packed with too much information that is kind of all over the place, these are some of the things that start to cause people to tune out. Next is segmenting your audience. Not everyone needs every single email or every single text message. Flocknote allows you to actually organize all of your contacts into nested groups so that the right people are getting the right message and nobody else. As an example here, I've just included a screenshot. We'll get more into this a little bit later, but as an example here, you'll see we have a group for all our liturgical ministers. Underneath that, we have groups for ushers. We have groups for lectors. We'll have a group for altar servers, right? And then underneath each of those groups, like we see with the ushers group here, we have groups for people that are available at specific mass times. So what does this mean? It means that you can reach out to let the people know for the Sunday 9:30 a.m. mass with information about when to be there, where do you need to meet, what you need to keep in mind, anything specific about this mass, right? Is there going to be a baptism, whatever's happening, right? Or what happens if we're missing ushers? Well, you can just go to the ushers group and reach out to everybody, all of the ushers, to say, hey, we need a volunteer for this specific mass, right? And so these are just examples of how Flocknote allows you to build in this easy segmentation to make sure that people are getting the right information at the right time. But this applies not only to internal communication, like with, liturgical ministers, but also just with your different ministries in general, right? Maybe you want to be able to reach out to people that only have phone numbers just with text messages. Maybe you have a group of people that only have email addresses, so you only want to make sure you send them emails. In your youth ministry, maybe you have different grade levels and you want to be able to reach out just to specific grade levels or specific ministries underneath a larger ministry. The possibilities are really endless, but it's very, very important. It also fixes, speaking of those different ministries, this is probably going to sound very familiar to a lot of folks, right? But it fixes that silo effect. Okay. Young adult ministries, of which I have been a part of many, and I have been guilty of participating in this, right? Right. But how many young adult ministries out there are just using Slack or Discord or GroupMe or WhatsApp or whatever it is to communicate, while the rest of the parish and all of the ministries use something completely different, right? That creates this silo of information that we want to try to avoid. So fixing that silo effect allows you to meet people where they are. It's not just about your audience; it's also about the entire team, right? Setting up internal staff and ministry leader groups gives your admins a shared space to communicate and coordinate. It also allows information and templates and content to be shared across your different ministries. It also allows your pastor to be able to say, hey, I want all of our ministry leaders to send out this piece of information. And then it can all go out from the same place rather than being in these different silos. All right, enough about how Flocknote specifically can help. Let's just get back to kind of the best practices, okay? And this is a really important one. But number 4, be a person. Be a person. People have relationships and build relationships with other people, not necessarily with organizations, and certainly not with buildings. You may associate specific relationships with people, with a place like a building, right? Or a group or a formal group like an organization or an institution. But relationships are the business of people, right? Not the business of um, people to a place. Relationships are between people. And also let your own voice and your joy come through when you're communicating rather than just writing as like a faceless organization, right? I think it's very important whenever you send an email. Now, there are cases where you want to send an email and, this email is coming from St. Mary's Parish, right? Sometimes that's appropriate. Oftentimes, though, it's important for it to say coming from Father John. It's important for it to say that it's coming from Joanne, who is the DRE, right? Whenever you're reaching out to parents, it shouldn't just say coming from, St. Mary's Religious Education. No, say who it's coming from. Build the relationship with those parents. Build the relationship with your parishioners. Number 5, it's not all about you. It's not about you. It's tempting to use every message to promote your own events, your own announcements. It's tempting to turn kind of every message into an excerpt, just kind of an excerpt or highlighting something from the bulletin, right? But people want to feel helped. They want to feel inspired. They want to feel personally connected. A good rule of thumb, and this might seem that's like we don't know what to say unless we're reminding them of something, right? But a good rule of thumb is that about 1 in every 10 emails or texts that you send out should be about what you really just like want them to know. The rest should all be these other areas about building relationships, about sending about like sanctifying souls, right? About sending edifying and encouraging information, right? Could just be about sharing a story of something that happened within the parish. It could just be about saying, "Hey, here, hey, parish, right? Hey, parishioners of St. Mary's Parish. We had 3 people baptized last Saturday. Here are their names. Welcome them to our parish." Even if it's just something that simple, it goes so far to build that relationship. And then importantly, before I move on, importantly, whenever they feel like that relationship is being built and being taken seriously, they're more likely to open and pay attention whenever you send them something that is really important, especially when you're potentially making an ask of them. Now, number 6, put something big at stake, right? Every communication, even a small logistical reminder, should feel connected to something meaningful your people care about. That's what turns a routine email or text message into something worth reading. It needs to be clear, it needs to be concise, yes, but is it connected to the bigger picture of what we're trying to do here, which ultimately, right, is to get to heaven. Like that's the goal here. We're trying to get our spouses, our children, our neighbors, our fellow parishioners, right? We're trying to get each other to heaven. And sometimes that can get lost. So with that, before I dive into the super fun data management piece of this whole thing, right? Let's talk a little bit about texting because texting for some people who maybe haven't done it before can seem scary, right? But I'm here to tell you it's not. It has its place and it's incredibly effective when used well. So, really texting? Yes, really texting. Texting might feel informal sometimes, but it's one of the most effective tools available. Open rates hover around 98% for text messages. Now, why is that? Why do we think that is? Hint, the answer is right there. It's because most people read a text message reflexively without even really thinking about it, right? Now, is that a good thing? I don't know. I don't know if that's the best thing in the world that we read text messages reflexively. Um, but but it is a fact. And when it comes to giving good information, it can be really effective. So, what are some examples? It's a really powerful for time sensitive matters. I actually one of my partners is the Diocese of Wheeling Charleston, which is the entire state of West Virginia. And I work with them and I work with all of their parishes. And they had some massive flooding, uh, either early this year. I want to say it was earlier this year, maybe it was late last year. Massive flooding all across the state and snowstorms. And all of their parishes, nearly all of their parishes, used Flocknote's texting to reach out to all of their parishioners to for a couple of weeks in a row to let them know whether or not mass was happening, because it was so bad. But it was so incredibly effective. And before they partnered with Flocknote, none of these parishes had that capability. Another thing is something like pilgrimages or events, right? Using email with Flocknote to be able to, link directly to the event registration and send a lot of detailed information on the event or the pilgrimage or, itineraries and all this stuff. Email, perfect. But what happens when you're there? What happens when you're there? You're on the pilgrimage. You're at the event, right? Texting out information to your volunteers that are actually there, to the people that are with you at the event, people that are with you on the pilgrimage. Texting can be incredibly effective, so in it doesn't get buried in like an inbox or something. If it's something that they need to know right away. And then finally, it needs to be obviously safe environment compliant, which with Flocknote it is, because in Flocknote, there's no hiding any communication that's gone out in Flocknote. That's one of the great things about it. All of the communication that happens in Flocknote is viewable by the administrators of the Flocknote network. There's no hiding anything there. It doesn't mean that every person can go see what every single person is saying, but when it comes to messages being sent out, administrators can see it all. And then it avoids the dreaded group text, right? When you send a text message via Flocknote, it's not creating this long text thread with 100, 200 people, 2,000 people, the whole parish. It's not creating that at all, while still maintaining the ability for parishioners to be able to text in a response, right? So it's really, really wonderful. Here's a couple of real examples. So here's a real example: short, clear, actionable, with a pointer to an email for some more detail. We have a lot of parishes that do this. They send out an important email and then they'll follow up almost immediately with a text message pointing back to an email. It increases the open rates dramatically. Here's another one right here, an example of kind of a same day closure or a time sensitive manner. All right, here's some other examples: prayer requests, daily devotionals, which I'll get more to on in a second, because we've got some awesome content that you can leverage as well, built directly within Flocknote. Things like prayer challenges and devotionals and things like that. Personal invitations to volunteer. And then also, if you use online giving with Flocknote, we have text to give or reply to give for events or parish needs. Okay, now we're going to get on to our second section. And this is where we're going to dive a little bit more into some Flocknote specific things. So during this section, we'll go over four things: administration levels and how to use them, smart groups, which are a new feature, newer feature, but they're extremely powerful and extremely beneficial, family registration, and then text to join keywords. So first, administration levels explained. So what are administration levels in Flocknote? Well, Flocknote has three admin tiers or admin levels. We've got super admins, we've got group admins, and we've got note senders. Each of them have different visibility and control into Flocknote. This really matters because it lets you delegate sending and group management rights to different ministry leaders and volunteers, even, without having to hand over access to your entire member database. As an example, a super admin, Mr. Fred Flintstone here in this example, can do pretty much anything in the network. He can add new members to the entire network. He can remove members from the network. In most cases, Fred's going to be able to see billing for the network, see sacrament data for members, personal and family info for members, giving information. Now, some of that information can be tweaked even for super admins. But Fred Flintstone here is essentially going to be able to do everything. Wilma is a group administrator. Now, what that means is for the specific group that she is a group administrator in, she is able to add members to the group, remove members to the group, see and edit certain information, but not all information on those members. And then, of course, she's able to email and text the members of her group. And then finally, we have Ricky Ricardo down here. He's a note sender. Now, that is as self-explanatory, I think, as it comes. He is just that. He can send notes. He can send texts. He can send emails. The note sender feature or or the note sender administration tier is probably one of my favorite and also most underutilized features, I think, in Flocknote. Because think about all of the volunteers that you probably have that you want them to be able to send emails or send text messages. You want them to help you communicate, but they don't need to be able to see any of the information of anybody in the group, right? They don't need access. That's what a note sender is for. Ricky Ricardo here, he's a note sender for a group. He's able to send text messages and emails to that group, but he's not able to see who is even in the group. That's the job of the group admin. He's not able to, of course, then add members to the group or move members from the group, see their personal information, family information, sacrament giving. He can't see any of that. He's just able to help that group administrator send emails and send text messages. Next feature, and this is one of my absolute favorite. I think this image might be broken, unfortunately. I apologize for that if it is, but I will send this out afterwards anyway. But smart groups are a newer feature, and they're one of my favorite. Smart groups are dynamic groups built from a filter instead of a manual list. So rather than creating a new group in Flocknote and then going in and adding all of your members, either one by one or through an import or through a text to join, which we'll get to here in a bit, instead, these members are added automatically as people meet certain criteria. As people stop meeting that criteria, they're automatically removed from the list. This means your groups for things like new members, current donors, people with missing information. If you create groups based off of that, those groups are always going to stay accurate without any kind of manual updating of a spreadsheet or anything like that. A great example is if you are a parish that uses Flocknote, not only for communication, but say you also use Flocknote as your member and donor database. And this is where you do online giving. It's where you enter your offertory. It's where you do everything, right? Well, something that you're definitely going to need is definitely going to need people's mailing address to send them their end of year tax letters, right? Well, with smart groups, you can easily set up a smart group that includes everybody who's given a gift this year to a tax deductible fund whose address you do not have on file. Therefore, you have a constantly accurate list where you can reach out to these people. You can use the smart button feature, which we'll get to here in a minute, to ask them to update their address as soon as they do add their address, which is verified by USPS, by the way. They're automatically removed from the list. So the next time you reach out to these people who you don't have addresses for, those people won't be included because they're no longer on the list. And all of that happens automatically. So you're not having to go and add people manually back and forth. All right. Next is, okay, this sounds great. We've got these smart group filters. We've got our groups all figured out and our admins figured out, and we've got smart groups created and all this stuff. And it's helping us communicate, and we're sending more specific information to the people that care about it most. And this is wonderful. But long term, how do we keep this up to date? That's where Flocknote's family and visitor registration comes into play. You can think of this as a parish's new online registration. This feature gives you a customizable registration page and flow where new and existing families can go to share and update their information, indicate their relationship with the parish, right? So whether or not they are a registered parishioner with the parish or whether or not they are just a visitor. And all of this, and they can even set up giving directly through that process as well if you have online giving through Flocknote. And all of this feeds directly into your database, right? And updates your database, which therefore will update your smart groups, which therefore will allow you to more easily send more relevant and targeted and useful information to the people that care about it most. And then finally, we also have the grow your flock with text to join. So our text to join feature lets people join your network or join a specific group within your network simply by texting in a keyword. There's no app, no app involved, no web page necessarily involved, no form to hunt down, nothing. It's the lowest friction way for somebody to join a group, to join your network, or to grow a group, or to get existing members to join a new group, whether that's just a one-time event or it's for your whole parish. We've got parishes that have done some really, really awesome stuff with this feature. I mean, really, really great stuff. We'll help them do like sign up Sundays where they'll just say, once a year or twice a year, they'll put the text to join keyword on a flyer and they'll put it in every single pew. And then they'll encourage people at the end of mass, break out your phone, text in that keyword and sign up for our Flocknote. Sometimes they'll connect it to a specific group. Sometimes they'll connect it just to the network as a whole. What you can do now with with text to join that we didn't have before is you can actually connect this to your family and visitor registration as well. So if you want to, you can enable it to go that extra step to then encourage them to click on a link and complete the actual family and visitor registration, which will allow that person to register their whole family if they would like. Now, the next thing, the last section here before we get to all of your questions and maybe even some demo if we're lucky and we have some time, but is going to be effective communication with Flocknote's unique features. So, what are some of the unique things that Flocknote does that most others don't? So, we'll be talking about creating and using templates. We'll talk about our content library, which I am personally super proud of and I love. And I think it's one of the things that makes Flocknote stand out as a tool built for the church. We'll talk about our note composer tools, proxy contacts, and fundraising and online giving. All right. So first is going to be our templates feature. So templates are really, really helpful. Every note you send and create, every time you go into our email note composer, you create a new template. All of them can be saved and reused as templates. So if you think about the things that your kind of normal cadence of communication that you have, your weekly newsletter, your monthly newsletter, the weekly or monthly message from the pastor's desk or whatever it is, you can create those and save those as templates. So you're not going to be starting from scratch every single time you go to send that out. You can pull up the template, you can update it with the most relevant information, and you can send it out. And it creates this clear branding. People know exactly what it is when they open it. They know exactly where to look for the most important information for them, without creating the time-consuming hassle of having to redo it every single time. The next is our content library. And like I said before, I love the content library. I love it. It's like my favorite. So the library gives you access to pre-made customizable content like seasonal graphics, devotionals, campaign material. Um, so you never have to start with a blank page, especially around like major feasts or like major events and liturgical seasons. Okay, this is one of my favorite features, and it connects back to what I was saying before about like 1 in 10 emails or text messages that you send should be asking them for something or should be giving them just kind of a normal update, right? And that can be stressful. That means 9 other emails or text messages that you send have to be something else, have to be something like other content that they think is going to be valuable to them, that is going to help them to grow and to flourish. And, and what do? That is why we created the content library. It's to help you with that, right? So think about, I know every year we come out with new content for Lent, for Easter, for Advent, for Christmas. We've even got content that runs through ordinary time, particularly around the summer. Um, we also partner with a lot of other organizations to create content as well. We partner with OSV for some of their books that they publish. We do content with them. We partner with Catholic Answers, USCCB, Word on Fire, 40 Days for Life. We've partnered with all of these organizations to partner with them to create new content. In fact, the USCCB in June um, made a really big push for the novena to the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and they actually talked with us and helped us to create the devotional a text challenge for the novena in Flocknote, and then encouraged us to encourage our customers uh, to use this. And we had a ton of parishes do that novena in June. It was really amazing. It was so cool. And a lot of those parishes used the text to join keyword to do so, right? They got up at mass and they said, "Hey, as a parish, we're going to do the novena to the Sacred Heart." Text the keyword on the flyer to join the group and start receiving the text messages. I think it was on June 8th. And we had a ton of parishes do it, and it was just so cool. And that's the kind of stuff that you can do with Flocknote. That's one of the things that makes us so unique. All right, getting into kind of the nitty gritty now of some of these features is one of them. One of the features is our smart send time. This might be a feature that you're not even aware of because it's kind of buried a little bit in the delivery section whenever you're creating a note. But this allows you to, it lets Flocknote automatically deliver each person's email at the time that they are personally most likely to open it within 24 hours from the time you actually press send. So that means that if you draft an email and click send at 7 a.m., one person might get that email at 9 a.m. in their inbox. The other person might get it at 7 p.m., right? It's it's free. You opt in per note, right? So don't stress about thinking like, oh no, is that's what's been happening with my emails? No, that's not what's been happening with your emails unless you click it when you send the email. But it can be really helpful because Flocknote understands, because we do track when people open emails, we understand when people are actually opening them on a per member basis. So doing this can help for that email to be at the top of their inbox whenever they're checking their email, rather than 5, 10, 15, 20 emails down by the time they get around to checking their email inbox. So just something that's there and available, and feel free to use it. Next is going to be intelligent info gathering. This is really helpful as well. Again, you opt into it per note, but what this does is it allows Flocknote to kind of quietly ask members to maybe confirm or update certain information like their mailing address, or if they don't have certain sacrament data on file, you can set it up to ask about that. But what it does is it automatically adds like a footer to the bottom of your email that says, hey, so and so, we don't have a mailing address on file for you. Please click here to add one. Or, hey, so and so, is your mailing address still up to date? If so, let us know, right? And it's just a way to keep your database of information up to date without you having to constantly be going and triaging and reaching out and asking for information all of the time. Next is going to be our smart button feature. This is something that lives within our email note composer. It allows you to create a button in your email that links back to basically whatever you want it to link back to. You can link it to a particular website, um, really any website, but you can also link it to particular things within Flocknote. So if you're using Flocknote's online giving, you can link them directly to a particular fund or initiative that you want them to give to. And the best part is that whenever they have their phone and they've got the email open on their phone and they click on that button, because they are logged into the email that we sent the email to, they're automatically logged in. And rarely do they have to even go through the process of logging in unless it's been a very long time since they've logged in. But what this allows is a very smooth process. You send them an email, you ask them to please consider giving a gift to a certain campaign. You include a button there for them to do so. They click the button, they're automatically logged in securely. They give a gift, the payment method is saved. Next time they don't even have to add a payment method. I mean, it's just all so smooth. And there's so many other things that you can do with the smart button. Finally, next, replying to comments. This gets back to what we talked about with texting, with the dreaded reply all, the dreaded reply all feature. Um, it certainly is the same for emails as well. Uh, you want parishioners to be able to reply to a text, of course. You want parishioners to be able to reply to an email, of course. You don't want that reply to go to 200 other people, right? You don't want to create this chain effect. And with Flocknote, it doesn't. You don't create a chain effect. Instead, Flocknote captures those replies and they put them in the comment section. So this is where you can see all of the replies to a particular note that was sent out. And you as the administrator can go and reply directly to specific comments. And those comments are secure, right? So those comments are private between you and the person that you're replying to. Also, with comments in general, you can set it up to where comments are either public or private. So whenever somebody replies to an email, is that reply going to be visible to other folks who receive the email in Flocknote, or is it only going to be visible to administrators? In most cases, I would make it visible only to administrators, but you have the ability to change that on a per email basis. Next is proxy contacts. This is super, super helpful, particularly when we think about something like youth ministry or religious education and faith formation, when a teacher needs to be able to reach out to students, or a youth minister needs to be able to reach out to students, but you want these things to be, again, safe environment compliant, right? So what a proxy contact allows you to do is it lets a parent or guardian receive copies of any email or text message that is sent through Flocknote to a child or a teenager's groups, even if that child or teenager has their own contact information. So even if your 15, 16-year-old son or daughter is in youth ministry or the young adults ministry or the teen ministry or whatever it is, and they have their own phone now, and that phone is in Flocknote, so that youth minister can send them text message updates via Flocknote. If your parent is set up as a proxy contact, dad gets the text message too. So he knows what the youth minister is sending out. Mom gets the text message too. So she knows what the youth minister is sending out. It's peace of mind that not only does nothing get lost because like a 13-year-old or a 15-year-old never checks his email. But also it's peace of mind for the parents and for the parish as a whole. All right. Next is going to be online giving with Flocknote. So Flocknote's giving tools let members give directly through emails and text messages. There's no separate donation platform required. Everything from one-time gifts to recurring payments or gifts all lives on just one page that's built specifically for the parish. And so, and also all parishes that have online giving enabled have access to this via Flocknote. So what this does is it allows everything to just be so smooth and seamless, like I said before. No longer are you going to send out a text message that links over to a completely different tool that then you have to take that information and get it back over into wherever you're tracking all of your other gifts. No, you just send out the text message or send out the email via Flocknote. They click the link, they're logged into Flocknote, they give the gift, it's tracked back to their profile, it's tracked back to the fund that you're using in Flocknote. Everything is kept in one place. Now, these are some of the newer features that we have in Flocknote. These are our new giving features that go beyond just online giving and go more into the donor management and campaign and appeals management in Flocknote. So this dashboard here gives you a real-time view into the total giving, the average gift size, and the giving trends over time. So you're not waiting until like the end of the year to understand how is our parish been doing. You can see those trends over time. Next, campaigns and appeals allows you to set up a goal, track pledges and collections against those goals, and see all of that progress at a glance, whether it's I don't know, you're trying to raise money for a new parking lot or you're doing like a multi-year capital campaign. Flocknote now is set up to be able to handle all of that directly within Flocknote. It then, of course, connects to online giving, and of course, it connects to all of our communication management as well, which brings me to connecting this back to effective communication is how often do you struggle whenever you're trying to raise money for something? Let me know if you give me a thumbs up if this rings true. You're sending out emails, you're sending out text messages, but you just don't know how much of it is actually helping, right? You don't know if the communication is actually effective in helping you raise that money. That's probably pretty common. Well, with our new reach outs feature in our larger giving suite of features, it actually shows you exactly how a giving focused message has performed, right? How many people it reached, how many people gave, and how much it raised, right? By actually tracking how many people opened the email, clicked on the button for that particular fund, and then followed through by giving a gift. So you're actually able to see how effective your communication has been for that particular campaign, which is going to allow you to be able to improve on said communication and your fundraising ability. So it closes that loop between like we sent an ask and here's what actually happened. Okay, that's it. That's all from me. That's all from me. I will be quiet now unless you have any questions or unless you want to see anything in real time. But uh, we love the Diocese of Dodge City. I want to help the Diocese of Dodge City. If you have anything that you want to learn more about, or if I was going through here and you said, "Ooh, I don't know if we actually have access to that feature," it might be because it was a Flocknote Complete feature, which is our full suite of tools, and you might not have Flocknote Complete yet. If that is the case, I've got good news. We're actually running a special right now to help people prepare for religious education registration at the end of the summer. Is we're running a promotion right now, giving a month of Flocknote Complete away for free. So if you want to test out any of these features that you saw today, like the giving feature or registrations or anything like that, and you want to test it for free, feel free to reach out to us at help@flocknote.com. Just say that you want to try Flocknote Complete for free for a month, and we'll get you set up. No strings attached. All righty, everybody. That is actually it. I am done. What questions do you have? Yes, Amy.
Yes, can people, do they get notified when you remove them from a certain group?
Ooh, that's a great question. Um, I think I'd need to actually test that out. I know that administrators, we have our admin reports that go out weekly that say who's joined and been removed, or who's joined and left groups, whether they were removed or not. We have a new feature coming out soon that's going to allow admins to see just the history of all changes within the network over a particular period of time. But as far as members being notified, I don't think so, but I'll have to test it out and get back to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Good question.
I know some people might be tempted to, like, you've got a volunteer who is eager to share with everyone what they're doing. But the best practice, as I understand, is you should only text a specific group information related to that group rather than something foreign. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, whenever you're giving admin permissions to somebody, it is something that you should take seriously, and it is something that those administrators should take seriously as well, whether they're a super admin, right, who can do almost anything on the network, or whether they're just a note sender for a particular group. And it's not something that should be abused. We actually talk about a lot of this and kind of the implications of using Flocknote and how it should be used well as an administrator in our new admin webinars that we put on every month. I think you just go to flocknote.com/webinar if you want to register for one of those. But it's great, especially for volunteers who are made a group admin or made a note sender. I highly recommend sending them to one of those webinars, and they're free.
Um, we currently don't have Flocknote complete, but we use it for signups a lot for funeral
Mhm.
meals and dinners. We're a small parish. One of the things that I found is those signups uh, I have to like send a text first saying those signups are coming because then the sign up comes from a different number. So that kind of confused my people, but
Mm,
I think once we got past that, it helped a lot. And those signups have been phenomenal for us. Again, we're a pretty small parish and I know everybody, but they really have been nice. And I can send a reminder email the day before or text message the day before. We mainly do the text because it's just more convenient. Even some of our older people don't have email anymore.
right.
So they just do text, but that is a feature that we have used a lot. I just do, and then I save the template kind of and use it again and again for our funerals. And that's really been fantastic. So,
Well, that's really great to hear, Carrie, and I appreciate that feedback too. That is something that our developers are aware of, and we're trying to figure out ways to to smooth that process out. Because I understand what you mean. If you're in the sign up and you click the text button and you choose the group, it's going to come from a different number than they normally get for that group. Is that what you were referring to? Okay. Yeah, it's something that our developers are aware of, and it's just one of the kind of uh, I don't know how to say it's kind of one of those things that's over my bald head in terms of the technicality of how Flocknote works. I'm sure there's a good reason for it, but I'll make sure and pass that along to them.
yeah, I think, I mean, once I figured out,
You can
they were
just let
having
them know.
trouble, then I just sent out a text ahead of that sign up, and that seemed to work it out. But yeah, we've enjoyed it for the minimal use. I can see it being used more in the future too, for sure.
Great.
What's your best practice to help parishes that have seen their um, opt-ins to say a parish-wide bulletin list, for example. They've seen
Hmm.
their opt-in plateau and they want to increase it. What would be your recommendation to help them increase those numbers so more people are receiving a message or email?
That is a great question. Well, the first thing I would want to figure out is what is the current, first thing I would look at is what is the current method that you're collecting opt-ins, right? A lot of times we see parishes who their opt-in is just on their website. It's just on the website, and maybe in their bulletin they have a little blurb that kind of directs people to the website. But what you want to do is you want to reduce the number of steps to opt in, right? What you're looking at in most parishes, a lot of parishes, my own parish, I'm sad to say, is you get the paper bulletin. You got to get the paper bulletin, right? If you don't get the paper bulletin, you're not going to know. But let's say you get the paper bulletin on your way out. You look at the bulletin, you read through it, you see where it says sign up for our newsletter, go to this website. You get your phone out, you get your computer out, you go to the newsletter, yeah, or you go to the website, you find the newsletter, and it's just all these different steps. So what I would recommend is reduce the number of steps. And in any way that you can, reduce the number of steps. So maybe something like a text to join keyword is going to be the easiest way to get people to opt in, because even if you're only collecting phone numbers, even if you're only collecting cell phone numbers, you can actually still send them an email bulletin or an email newsletter via Flocknote to their phone number, right? To their cell phone number through one of our delivery features. If they don't have a good email on file, but they have a good phone number on file, we will send them a text message with a link to that email, right? So that's an example. Is you could do a push at mass to say, look at the bulletin or look at the flyer in the pew, text that keyword to this if you want to opt into the weekly newsletter. It reduces the friction. They literally just get their phone out, type in the keyword sent to a specific phone number, and it's done. Um, you can then try to collect their email address and more information later, but just getting them to take that one action, at the very least, allows you to begin delivering that to them in some way. So that is one way to do it. But ultimately, the philosophy should just be, how many steps can I remove in the process of getting them to sign up?
Thank you. We've got a couple of minutes left. Is there any final questions here? I see one head shaking no. Amy's writing some notes because she's an excellent student. Carrie's on board. Trudy, if you have a question, now's your time. I'll give you 10 seconds and
Thank
then
you.
we'll wrap this up.
No,
Oh, you're very
I'm
welcome.
very interested in the trial thing, because we are trying to change the like find a better option for our parish software, and I don't
Hmm.
really understand yet what all features Flocknote Complete has. So I think it'd be great if we are able to try it out for a month and see what
Absolutely.
all it can help. Um,
Absolutely. I'll send a follow-up information with more information.
okay.
Could you help me send that out, Eric, to everybody? I'll send that to you, and
Yes,
then you can distribute
I'll,
it. Um,
I'll do it on
and
Monday. I'm out of the office this afternoon, but yeah,
Perfect,
definitely connect on Monday.
perfect, perfect.
Okay,
I'll send that to
great.
you, and you can send that out to people who attended and people who didn't with the recording. And yeah, just email us, and we'll get you taken care of, and we'll get you started on that free trial.
Thank you.
Great. Uh,
You're very welcome.
yeah, thank you, Cody, and thank you all for attending. Hopefully, seems like you got some good value out of this. I know I did. Um, we'll wrap it up by me saying thank you to Cody, and then also, like he had mentioned, on Monday I'll send out an email with a replay, and then it'll also be posted on our diocesan website and YouTube, so you can get it and share it there if you know some other people that could benefit from this. And with that, Cody, once again, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And yeah, we'll see you next month. Uh, you would think I'd know this off the top of my head, which topic is on next month, but I believe we're doing, let me see, that's August. We have one on end of life issues. There's an attorney from Pratt who will help us with some of those end of life things. May not be very fun to talk about, but they're necessary, and she's going to be very good about that. So, with that, guys, and everyone, we will see you. Have a great weekend, and hopefully see you again next month.